It's me, it's Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, with this week's Outstanding Life podcast. And before we get into this, I want to make sure that I let everybody know right in the beginning how you can follow the Outstanding Life podcast. You can follow us on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Player FM. And I've been having a lot of people asking me, Johnny D, how can I advertise or how can I donate to the podcast? Well, you can donate now on PayPal. So you can go to motivationalcowboy.com, go to the podcast page, and you can donate there. And you can even put a shout out, put a couple bucks in there, and you can tell me who you want to put a shout out to, and we will make sure we bring up you may be a family member, maybe a friend, maybe it's a loved one that you want, talked about on the show, and we'll definitely do that for you. You can also support us on Patreon. So all that is at motivationalcowboy.com podcast. And we are going to jump right into this podcast. This week, we have Dan Jones in the house. What's up, Mr. Dan Jones?
How you doing? Good afternoon.
And we have Bill Melbach. Man, Bill, you were just here last week, and you're like, I had so much fun. When are we doing another one?
I had to come back.
And here you are. Guys, it is an absolute pleasure. It is a beautiful, beautiful afternoon here in Michigan. It's actually like 61, 62 years old. So, Dan, let's jump into this right now because... One, I want to know what it's like to be a 39-year-old man with no cell phone.
Well, hey, before we get started, you told me this guy was 39. He looks like he's a senior in high school.
I know. When I first met him.
I'm in my 50s. I look like I'm in my 70s. And then you bring this guy in.
when I first met Dan, and then yesterday talking to him on the phone, he's like, yeah, I got an 18-year-old. I said, what? I thought he was like my daughter's age. You know what I mean? So do you get that all the time, that you look so young?
Definitely, yeah. Getting jobs and stuff, I almost have to say, hey, I know I look this, but this is my experience. So yeah, I always gotta kind of tell people where I'm at, who I am. Recently, I was riding my bike and I carried my daughter's bike to go pick her up from school. So it looks like I stole a bike. And I'm with my son, and he's 16. So we're riding, and I was like, oh, here comes a cop car. I was like, he's going to pull over and ask. And he's like, so where'd you get the bike? And I'm like, no, I'm going. And I just laugh, going, it's my daughter's. I'm going to pick her up. And I get closer so he can see maybe some of the wrinkles or something. And he goes, no, where'd you get the bike? And he's like, why do you have a bike? And I was like, it's my daughter. I'm going to pick up my daughter. He's like, uh-huh. He's like, so whose bike is that? And I'm like, it's my daughter's bike. I was like, I'm her dad. I was like, I'm going to pick her up. And he's like, all right. And he drives on. And then afterwards, my son goes, I don't think he still believed you. I think he still thought you're blowing him off. I was like, I know. I don't know what to do. So
that is awesome.
That was just a few days ago.
So listen, 39 years old, and you told me that you never have owned a cell phone.
Yep, never had a cell phone.
What the heck? I mean, I thought for sure, Bill, he was going to pull up in a horse and buggy when he said he didn't have a cell phone.
We thought it was Amish by default.
Right. Then I got the
like?
push mower that doesn't have the...
I mean, because everything you do in life, it seems like you actually have a push lawnmower?
Yeah, I don't have no engine. It's just got the...
What did those come out, like the 1940s? I mean...
I know. And then mine broke, so I had to go to a place and have him solder it so I can keep using it. So
now, and you don't make your sons do that? You go out there and use it?
They did a little bit. But
what does your neighbors think?
It breaks. I don't know. They don't say that much.
I bet. They're like, oh, right. Weirdo, stay away.
That's because they see this huge open blade, so they stay away.
Yeah.
I love that. So no cell phone. You're totally off the grid.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I mean, how did that? Why? And I mean, I'm just so intrigued. Let's start with that. With this.
I think it kind of happened when people started chatting. So when the internet first started getting big and people were not really even understanding, so you'd have to research something and be like, oh, you can look at how many CDs somebody came out with and they're just listed for you. So at the beginning, it was interesting. And then when people started being in the chat rooms, I jumped in with my friends around the same time, being funny, pretending somebody else, whatever. It's just like a group of us at night. And then, I don't know, it was like first weekend or so, and I was like, I don't think I like this. And they're like, why? And I was like, I don't know, something's weird about this. Something's off. I was like, the communication strength. I was like, something's not right. Not knowing texting was going to be
the next
everything.
Big thing, yeah.
So, yeah, right away, that's just how I felt. And then cell phones started coming out, and then I was like, I don't want people getting a hold of me when I'm walking somewhere. What are you talking about? Like, why would I ever want that? And so, for me, it was the opposite. I was confused why no one knew where I was coming from.
Right.
I was like, isn't this kind of logic? Like, why would you want people to always call you? You're going to get in more arguments. You're not going to know where you're showing up. You're going to and then I would start seeing that happen with friends, you know? going somewhere. Hey, where are we meeting? What time? Well, I'll be there at 3. Just call me when you get there. I'm like, no. Like,
you didn't like
5
my
o'clock.
post. You didn't like my tweet. It's like, are you kidding me right now?
See, in that part, I've never even dabbled into. I only got into the text a little bit because we did have one cell phone at the house when my mom got plans. And so that was our house phone for a minute. And then that started happening right away. It was texting. What are we having for dinner? Every day was a text. What are we having for dinner? And I was like, I'm not having a part of that. I'm not doing it anymore.
For your millennial listeners, to understand the scope of this, Dan has never had a troll. And he's never had anybody, not accept a friend request.
Right? Yeah. That's gotta be kind of nice.
Yeah,
though.
I guess I've never been rejected that way.
That's right. No rejection.
Let's avoid rejection. Yeah.
So you are a psychologist.
Yeah, well, I'm a psychotherapist.
Psychotherapist.
Yeah, so my master's is in social work. I don't love to say that because the connotation people don't understand. They think it's you're a caseworker and people don't know what you do.
Right. So what do you do?
And the avenue is so big, right? And the avenue is so big for social work. You do have to always describe what you do.
Yeah.
So it's better for me to just say I'm a psychotherapist.
Right.
And then
so that
on the good
means-
side, John, it means he legally can't lock you up.
That's right. Well, the other reason I had to make sure was every time I said therapist, people are like, oh, so like for muscles, like, and I'm like, no, I'm like for the brain. So, so it was hard. And then if they say, oh, so you're a psychiatrist, I'm like, no, I don't do meds. And you're like, oh, so you're a psychologist. I'm like, well, that's not my degree. So it's so complicated. And psychotherapy, when you read your textbooks, so many are saying, so when you're a psychotherapist, and I was like, that's the term I got to grab, and that's what I am.
So
that's what I do.
Is that what you always wanted to do? Did you start out, when you're a young man, saying, hey, one of these days that this is what I want to do?
No, it was always acting, making movies, writing.
Really? So your
being
passion is
theater.
not what you're doing for your day job.
Right. Nope, not at all.
When did you get your passion? Like, I remember when I was riding my big wheel. So I don't know, 7, 8 years old. And I knew one day I'd be speaking in front of a bunch of people. Okay. Well, I didn't know what a motivational speaker was. I thought I was going to be an actor. I thought, because that's what I knew.
Right.
I knew movies. So I'd be like, oh, I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to be in front of lots of people one day. Well, that didn't happen. It was like I ended up, being a speaker. At what age did you start to get those juices of going, hey, I want to do this. I want to be in the movies. I want to be an actor. I want to, or whatever you were coming up with.
Yeah, the acting, being a part of the movies, that was, I can't remember, like even when it began. So it was forever.
Really?
I grew up with movies. My grandma showed me, Hitchcock films. My dad was like, well, you liked them, you liked them in Cape Fear. Let's go rent Raging Bull. So I was always just finding out about that kind of thing. And yeah, I was just immersed in it. So I thought it was just acting. So that's kind of where I started off. But as you get older, your brain starts wanting to create your own stories.
Right.
So like Toni Morrison, the author, she's African-American author. And the reason she started writing is because she said every time I went to read, there were no stories about me. There were no black authors. There weren't black stories. So I was like, I'll just do it. And now she's a giant author.
Right.
So that was the same thing for me. What stories do I want to see? What do I want to be interested in? What do I not see? So I started getting into writing. And so to narrow it down,
what kind of movies did you like? Were you into the sappy stuff? Were you into like the gory killing stuff?
No, when I was younger, it was all comedy and action. But that's even different than it is today. So I'm talking Arnold Schwarzenegger and Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
So it was different than all the gore and toilet humor that's nowadays. So that's where I wanted to be. But as soon as I started becoming 12 or 13, I'm really into, Catcher in the Rye. Like I'm like, oh, there's so much emotions we have in this life. So right away I started getting deeper into like, all right, well, the kid's parents all die and, now he's got to fend for himself. So I was just changing it and getting more dramatic. And then I lean toward drama, I guess.
So you were talking about you being like the biggest kid, even having kids. You're like, Johnny, you have no idea how big of a kid I am. Do you remember Tom Hanks in the movie Big?
Yeah. Yes.
Was that one of the movies that you actually liked, or I know it's far fetched, but
no. I didn't love it. I really, really liked it. And part of it was because I was like, that's going to be me when I get older. And I wanted to be...
He's going to have a big loft and all these toys.
Big loft, big toys, people coming over. I'm on top, but I'm going up on the top bunk. So same sort of thing. And then I wanted to be a toy designer. That's what I thought my job was going to be. So whenever...
Really?
Yes. Whenever I told them...
Did you ever design anything then?
No, not at all.
Okay, so go ahead. Tell your story. You wanted to be a toy designer.
Because it was another part where... I wanted to be creative in toys that weren't out there. They could be so much better and more creative, which then now they are. Now every toy you can think of, they got going out. But so that's really what I wanted to do. So whenever I told my mom, I was like, so this is my plan. I'm going to be on stage doing rock and roll, and I'm going to be an actor. But on the side, my real job is going to be a toy designer. She's like, okay, you might have to narrow it down to some reality somewhere. and I never did.
Wait a second. Now all of a sudden you're an actor. That's what you thought you wanted to be.
Right.
A toy designer. But then I just heard you say a rock and roll star.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
You forgot that part.
Right. Yeah. I know. And I bounce around a lot too. So
No, it's okay. It's like I was joking around with you before we hit the record button. It's like, show me a guy that doesn't have ADD. So you're amongst good guys right now that we can follow you.
Yep. So yeah, jamming. My dad taught me the main chords, what the strings are. Then I self-taught, and then started doing the band thing right away. Same around the same time.
12, 13 years old?
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, like I was in a band too, but I mean, we weren't good at all. Were you guys actually good?
Yeah. We were told by adults all the time, like when we got off stage, we were like, "Oh my God, you guys were like better than the other people that were playing." So yeah, we did a gig junior year, because we were already dishing out our tapes through the high school all the time.
I love that tapes.
Yeah.
Somebody I can relate to now. Right?
And I had to go home and mix them all. So, but yeah, so 15, 16 years old, we do the tapes, and then junior year comes around and everyone's talking about fundraisers. I'm like, well, what if our band did a gig in the gym and we'd sell hats and shirts and, cupcakes? And so we did. My bass player did the tie-dye shirts, and my drummer figured out where to do hats, and we were able to do hats. We were Song of Yesterday at the time.
That's the name of the band?
Yep.
So did you play the guitar in the band?
Yeah, guitar and sang.
Okay, so you can actually play guitar and sing.
Yes.
Are you good?
I'm told I'm good.
Oh, here we go. Okay, well, we're not not mom and dad.
He's good enough to send his cassette to iTunes.
Yeah, right. And get no response.
So wait a second. So you play guitar, you write music, and you say you can sing. Well, this would be a perfect opportunity that I have a guitar sitting right there. Okay. So why don't I put you on the spot right now? And do you have like a favorite song that maybe you like to sing, or a song that maybe means something to you? I mean, set this up then. If I'm going to throw you on the spot, then
I got a song called "Normal Land." It means something to me only because I wrote it. It's actually more about soldiers coming home, PTSD type stuff. So I know there's a lot of songs about that. But it has a good sound, and it's a song that my drummer and I thought was pretty commercial, and we haven't been jamming as much because he's got 2 little ones now.
Okay.
Well, my kids are grown up, so.
Well, man, grab my guitar and let's hear it. Bill, I hope you don't mind.
No.
I mean, I know that you like music. I'm not singing at all. Otherwise, no one's going to listen to this at all. And no one's going to get, when we get done with the podcast, no one's going to say, "Oh, great job."
Yeah, I'm gonna want to get a cassette of this.
All right, so I'm at this distance. Sound pretty good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So again, it's called Normal Land. This is one we play, but we haven't played on stage. How can we fall back down in from the rain? Heals the same in this hole. Where are we back in town on normal land to have this dance? But I'm not home. But there is a waking sound. Well, it isn't all so loud. In this, there's a time arranged for the land, and I will be the man in this hole. that's that.
Outstanding.
That was
all
awesome.
right. All right. All right.
That was awesome.
Well, I'll be the one that says yes. Very, very, very nice job.
Appreciate it.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
I didn't know what to
fantastic.
say. I mean, that was really, really good.
That's
And-
one of the most creative things I think anybody can do is be able to pick up a guitar and just sing like that.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Yeah, that was awesome, and especially being put on the spot and just
Right.
grab something off your out of your head like this. So
And I got a little cold too. I just didn't want to give an excuse beforehand. So.
so listen, you're off the grid. You're a you have a cool job. Your upbringing is cool. You have 3 kids. You're married. I want to know how you met your wife. I mean, because this has got to be a great story. I mean, with everything that we've heard so far,
Yeah.
Bill, you know darn well this has got to be a good story about how he met his wife.
It wasn't online. We know that.
It wasn't a dating site.
Right, it definitely was not. Yeah, it'd have to be longhand.
Right. This is
sending
real old
mail,
school.
and that'd be more along the lines of stalking, I guess. So I am an eccentric person. I never knew that term or that's what it was until I got older. You know, when you're younger, you're just weird and you're the class clown and you're goofball. But I am an
So it
eccentric
must have been
person.
comforting eventually to find a term.
It was. That's part of what. Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
what
eccentric.
That's what I learned in therapy. Really, it's okay to be weird. So, in my own therapy. But anyway, So with my wife or soon-to-be wife, so we were freshman year high school. Knew of each other. Second half of the year, we kind of become more friends. Not that big of friends, just acquaintances in school, kind of thing. And then she invites me to her birthday. So I'm like, okay. So to me, I'm like, I don't really know her that well. So I'm like, okay, I guess she kind of likes me more than I thought. So I'm like, so can my friend, which is the drummer in my band, can he come too? And she's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess. I'm like, well, you said your friend's coming. So I call my friend. I'm like, this is weird. I don't know what to do. She's inviting me. It sounds like it's just her and her friend. And I'm coming. He's like, I don't know. Does she not want me to go? I'm like, not really. And I'm like, I guess I'll just go. So being the person that just kind of jumps in, I'm like, all right, fine, let's just go. What are we doing? We're going to Applebee's. We're going to go see a movie. I'm like, oh, love movies. Fine, let's do that.
Yeah.
Although the movie ends up being Casper. But that's okay. So there's just nothing out. So we go, and while we're there, it's actually a little better than I thought. And I do like her as a friend. And I like the other girl that's there as a friend. I'm there with high school with them. And we kind of end up turning the friend into the third wheel. It almost feels like a date all of a sudden while we're there. And it's her birthday. And we're seeing Casper. So even then, we're kind of like joking and talking during it. So anyway, this part is not that interesting because afterwards is where everything happens. I come to my soon-to-be wife. Her name is Crystal. And I say, so we're going to be graduating now. It's the end of the year. And I'll call you. And she's like, yeah, right. And I'm like, no, I'll call you. When I do something, I do it. I always do anything I say I'm going to do. She's like, okay, I know I've heard that before. I'm like, all right. And I'm like, I don't know why she kind of got like that, but all right. So call her the next day. I'm like, so you want to go out to go do something? And she's like, yeah, I didn't think you called. I was like, I told you to call. Let's go see a movie.
But I'll pick it this time.
Right. So we picked Braveheart because it's a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
We're going on a date.
Nice.
It's a long time to hold hands and whatever. So we go do that. We don't make out. Nothing like that. After Braveheart, we come home. We talk for like 2 hours. And again, we're like, 15. And she goes home at 2 a.m. My mom's like, is she some slut that's staying late? And I'm like, no, it's just we talked. So, and I never really had people stay over like that.
Yeah.
We go to Cedar Point. Next day is a school class for freshman year summer thing. She doesn't go. She never planned. She didn't sign up for it. So the whole time I'm in Cedar Point, I'm looking for her everywhere. Like I'm like, she said she might come. I'm looking for her head. And so my friend's going, what is happening? And I'm like, I don't know, but I thought she was going to come. So on the bus drive home, I say to my friend, I think I'm going to ask her to marry me. And he's like, what?
Whoa.
And I'm like,
Whoa.
hey, I'm like, yeah.
I said that I wasn't drinking at this podcast. Somebody give me something to drink. I'm getting sweaty hands right now.
Right.
You're 15. I already know that you want to marry her.
15, yeah. And it's in the dark and we're laying down and it's like, it's almost like we're in the stars. We're in the bus, and he's in the one row, I'm in the other row. Like, yeah, I think I'm gonna. He's like, why? She's gonna freak out. What are you gonna ask her? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I think I have to ask her. I have to ask her. So the next day we come home. So we had one date that was Braveheart, and the one time we went to the birthday.
Yeah.
So yeah, she comes over and we kind of hang out for a little bit during the day. Again, no making out. Haven't even kissed her. And then so I go, I got something I want to ask you, but it's really weird. And I'm kind of different. And she's like, okay. I mean, it takes me a half hour to get the words out. I've never had that experience. Just sitting there in silence. She's like, well, I mean, what are you going to ask me? And I'm like, I'm just trying to figure out how to say it. So finally I say, I'm like, I want to marry you. I think we should get married. And I go, will you marry me? The craziest part of the story is she looks away for a second. She looks back at me and she goes, yeah. So she says, yes. That's the crazier part. That my part isn't even that interesting. She says, yes.
Wow.
So who's crazier,
That's
him or
I
her
know.
now at this point?
So we have like this big kiss, like real quick one because her dad's there and he runs out. It's the first time I kissed her. Call my friend.
Was it
I'm like,
good?
I asked her. What's that?
Was the kiss good?
Well, it must
No,
have been.
it was
She didn't
horrible.
change her mind.
It was a horrible kiss. It was a fast, open mouth kiss. It was this nonsense. And then she even apologized later. She was like, I don't even know why we did that. I was like, I don't either. But so that was it. We stayed together. We did like a mock marriage a year later. We got a quarter, from Quarter Machine. We got rings that we wore all through high school. And not like a promise thing to be celibate or anything either. It was more just symbolism of our love. And and then we moved out when we were 18. We got married when we were 20, had our first kid 21, and this is where we're at.
No
That's
kidding.
very cool.
Yeah. So what does she do for a living?
She's a registered dietitian.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah, she's really good at it too.
Wow.
She's-
Where do we even go from there?
I don't
Bill?
know. I'm still
mean,
liking the simplicity of the young part. Like you've only got one box to check. She likes me. Okay, will you marry me?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. So
good stuff.
three kids. You have an 18-year-old, going to be a 16-year-old.
Almost 16, and my daughter is 13. So 2 boys, and my youngest is my daughter.
Yeah. Awesome. So you said in between, I'm starting to read in between the lines with you.
Mm-hmm.
You said something during that story about you going through your own therapy.
Yeah.
Joking
Yep.
around. Did you actually go
Yeah.
through therapy, or were you just joking around
For
with
myself.
us?
No, it was my
So
for
what happened?
my mental health. I had a breakdown.
Was this before you asked her to marry you? Or?
Yeah. First time I got help. Right. So it is hard to when you try to match up timelines. But my wife and I are together, having kids. I'm making movies, doing my band thing, doing all this sort of thing. So after I shoot my 3rd movie, I feel like kind of, I don't know, things are different. I have an panic attack. So there's a difference between anxiety attacks and panic attacks. Anxiety attacks is where you're overly anxious. Things, you're overwhelmed. There's a lot happening and you just can't take it anymore. Panic attacks are where they just come out of nowhere. You have no idea what even happened. And then when you go to therapy, you almost got to go through like a reverse. You have to press reverse on it. And I'm just realizing, no, there is no reverse because there's no tapes. And there's a reverse. You got to grab the line and pull it back, I guess, right? So... so you got to go backwards and see what triggered you, what got you going. So I don't even know if I know exactly what got me going. I think it's just being
probably
an
you're,
eccentric person.
you're a very artistic person.
Yeah.
Obviously, the band, the movies,
It's going-
marriage,
yeah.
and a kid. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot, Bill, and you can appreciate that
No,
because
yeah,
you've
for
been there,
sure.
and I've definitely been there.
Yeah.
And so I can totally relate to that. And matter of fact, and I don't want to interrupt, but you just telling your story about the panic attack is making me realize that I had one when I gave up everything. I remember now sitting on 75, shaking, crying, not knowing what the hell was going on with me. But again, I was following a dream. I was speaking. or trying to be a speaker. I had a daughter. Didn't realize what was going on. I thought I was having a hard. I mean, I'll never forget that time. And I actually have forgot about it until you just start bringing this
Really?
up. Thanks.
Oh,
So
wow.
it looks like we get therapy on Monday morning.
That's cool.
So you're in therapy because I mean, this really isn't funny because I mean, people do need to get help.
But laughing is
especially-
okay. Laughing is like they
Absolutely,
say it's
yeah.
the best medicine. It really is. Like there's even if you do research in psychology, because I do so much research in psychology and everything. It's not so much being sarcastic, but being facetious and having those jokes
Yeah.
while you're talking about these kind of things. It's really healthy. There's nothing wrong with it.
So you're in therapy. How long were you in therapy?
So I was in therapy, so outpatient therapy for 2 years.
No kidding.
When I had my breakdown, I was hospitalized for like 4 or 5 days or something.
Okay. Now, during those 2 years, is that when you realized that this is what you want to do for a day job?
Yeah. While I was in therapy.
Wait, I was just joking around, like thinking
Yeah.
that was going to be another funny question.
Right,
but
right.
Is that really what happened?
Yeah. Lost my job while I was in therapy after the breakdown. And movies are not going to pay the bills. I guess this is around 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. So YouTube and streaming, Netflix, it's all getting bigger.
The economy took a dump.
Yeah, economy took a dump before that, and so the world's totally changing. It's not about going to the film festivals with your film and then having DVDs. It's a way different world. So 2 talking to my therapist, I kind of dabbled in it. I was like, I'm always researching. I'm always looking it up. And everything I ever wrote in the past, my lyrics or my movies, my books, any of those kind of things, they all had to do with the human brain. It had to do with behavior. It had to do with interaction and, the human condition. So I was like, yeah, maybe I should look into it. And I'm such an eccentric off person that I had this going through my head for a couple of weeks. My wife comes home and I go, yeah, so I think I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna get a degree in psychology and become a psychologist. And she was like, what? What's going on? So I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do it. I think it's something I need to do.
How old were you at that point? Like 21, 22 years old?
No, this is 30. This is 32.
Oh,
32,
gosh,
33.
10 years. Like, wow.
Yeah, because I already did my 3 movies. I've done my books. My kids are still growing up, but they're not babies.
32 years old, and my daughter she's in her second year of actually making money as a clinical psychologist. So I know how much money it costs to go to school and to get your master's degree.
Yeah. Yep.
And your wife obviously is very supportive because you did it and she said, okay,
yep,
you're nuts, but we'll do it.
Yep. Yeah. We do have the debt thing. I don't look at it as that way. I'm like, I'm out there. The reason it even happened is because I kept watching like the documentary Bully. There's a lot of things where I was like, isn't there a way that I don't just have to make movies? I can go out there.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that happened with me was I said, they should have a class where you have people come and you teach them how to be good parents. I was, why don't they just have a class like that?
Amen, brother.
And then they kind of do, but they're not the greatest. And that's what it was. I was like, so how can you, it took me a second, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a whole field out there called psychology and that's, forgot. So that's why, and the other part that mattered to go to college and get the degree was because with movies, it's who you know. It's, you don't know where you're going. You don't know what you're doing. And with this, it was already a set in thing. You're going to have your job placement afterwards. And
so I want to know, Bill, you might be thinking the exact same thing, but how in the heck did you go through college being off the grid? I mean, I hope you have an email address.
Yeah, I also had another question. Like, as you're a filmmaker and all these creative endeavors that you're doing, how hard was it to realize like life's just going by, like noticing the changes without being online? Like you said, those changes from film festivals and then everything's changed because everything has changed so fast. And by the time you get good at something, you're already onto something else.
Yeah.
Specifically with that, well, when it comes to being in the moment, and it's something now mindfulness is so big, they got books everywhere about it, but it's really important to be mindful. That's something I did my whole life. I didn't know. When everyone told me that, man, time flies, I argued every time. I still argue. I'm like, I don't think time flies. I was like, I really don't agree with that. Like I can pick, even today we're going through my life and there's it sounds like there's 7 different lives and I could just stay in the one about I haven't even talked about my kids. I could just only talk about my kids.
Yeah.
And that's my whole life. Forget anything I've ever done. It's all about my kids. So, so being mindful in the moment is how I've been able to deal with that. But I will say with the movie transition, being off the grid, having it being more on the grid than it used to be, I felt I lost my best friend. Wow. It was a huge loss for me.
For sure. Yeah.
This was, I guess, during the breakdown. That was something I kind of had to process, but it was more after. It was more after the breakdown. It was more while I was starting college. So, I don't know, 2014, 34, around that time, I guess I'm a sophomore in college at that point. It's really where I was like, yeah, I don't even know if I want to go back to making movies. If I do, what am I doing? And I told you briefly when we spoke on the phone about how I was trying to compete with a Woody Allen movie that has 8 A-list actors that's coming out and it's at the Main Art Theater for 2 weeks and then it's gone.
Right.
And if I say it to anybody, no one knows what movie I'm talking about. And I'm like, so how am I trying to make a different movie that this has, Emma Stone and Joaquin Phoenix? Everyone's like, I never heard of it. And I'm like, what? So, and then I also made a movie, but it's just local actors and, so that was a thing for me. It was hard to adjust. It's still being a creative person.
Right.
That was why I went more to short stories and things like that. And I do still want to make movies, but, yeah, that was rough. That was a rough thing. And it's something I'm still kind of learning and dealing with.
It's a very creative and amazing story because you're very relatable to a lot of people. I think being off the grid, you have this very interesting perspective because I'm watching your talent. And one of the things now that's changed, like from when you were making films, there was like this expectation somebody has to discover you. And somebody has to find your film, and somebody has to find where you're at, and then people have to figure out who you are. And now everything's just like everything, that performance you just did, we film it on your phone, put it on YouTube. And now there's kids that are 13, 14 years old that have like millions of followers on YouTube.
And that's something I got to start learning about.
Yeah, your creativity, though, it's your expression of your creativity. It's so actually cool, this old school version of just, it's like grinding it out, that creative, where other people now, they're just like throwing their creativity out there.
Right.
Yeah. It's amazing story. It's amazing.
And my kids they're really creative when it comes to filmmaking and things like that. And I try to tell them, do it. But the weird thing about, I guess because they've seen me, they don't push themselves enough with the Instagram part. So they are on Instagram, and they are, my oldest the most, but they are having certain parts of that. And I'm like, all right, so now post this thing, get this going. So my two sons, they have, is that a show? My two sons? My three sons. My three sons, yeah. But they're,
So if your wife's listening, is there going to be one more maybe? So you have 3 boys.
No, I'm snipped. It's all set. I can't do anything. If she's pregnant, something's going on. But yeah, so when it comes to my kids, they have, it's called Lil Prix, and it's Prix because my son has a Grand Prix. Okay. So there's this like pretend rapper they do. It's all, it's all mock rap things. But they got a rap thing. But even that, I tell them, promote it more, get it out there more, do it. And they don't do it a ton. They do it a little bit. And yeah, my one son's called Lil Prix all the time when he's at high school. And then my daughter goes to a different school, and they know him. They're like Lil Prix when he's walking by. So he's like a little local celebrity in Allen Park because they're doing these videos. But that's what I agree with you. They have so many more opportunities.
Yeah.
And they do take advantage of it, but some people out there are really taking advantage of it, and that's great.
Bill, do you remember like back in the day, and you could probably relate, but when I used to have to send my promo stuff out, I used to have everything printed out.
Yep.
A VHS tape. And that was before
your
DVD.
Presentation kid.
Yeah, I mean, the whole deal, 8x10 headshot, the whole deal. And then it would take 4 days to get there. It would cost you $15 to mail it out. And then they would have to send you a letter back saying, yeah, we'd like to book you. Exactly. Now it's like everybody can, with the internet and everything else, it is kind of crazy how just like the show right now.
Right.
I mean, you never know who's going to pick it up and listen to it. So I want to know your first or second movie, did you actually put some money into the movies to try to make it?
And to relate it, so before I answer that, I'm going to relate to what you just said, because my first film was shot on film. So a lot of people out there don't understand, even though we still say filmmakers. It's just like
kids are like, what's film?
Right.
So you shoot on film.
I'm
so
making a film. No, you're not.
Right, you're not at all.
I know film, Sonny.
Right. Yeah. So as you know, there's 60 millimeter, 35, and then you can also go like 65 and 70. But so films used to be made on 35 millimeter. If you did it independent, it'd be 16 millimeter. 16 millimeter is so expensive. So my first film was $16,000 to $18,000, and it was because of the stock we used.
Wow,
that's what it had to do with. We didn't have a little chip.
$16,000 to $18,000 it took you to make that movie.
And the reason I thought of it is because just now, that's my first movie that we did in 2002, and just now I was like, I need to get this transferred because it's just on these reels, these big reels I got in the garage are getting. But we do have it on a Digibeta, so it's like a video thing. So
Digibeta,
right? Because Digibeta it's actually better than video.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, I know. I got you.
Yeah. So
I'm older than you. It's okay.
So I find this company, and I'm like, I need to get my movie. So they're like, send us a flash drive, $25. I'm like, what? So that's that $16,000, $18,000 movie. And now I got this little flash drive that's on my bookcase.
Seriously.
It has my whole movie.
Seriously, yes.
All the blood, sweat, and tears that we did in that film. But anyway, so your question was...
Yeah, $16,000 to $18,000 it took, huh?
Yep. Yeah, for that first one. And it was mostly the stock and locations.
Did you actually make money on the movie?
No, not at all.
And this was your standard, let's put this on the credit card. My
best friend did. Yeah.
Yes,
so he maxed out all of his credit cards.
Yes. So he lived the filmmaker's dream.
Yeah. And then they held our film ransom in another state, and he had to drive out there and argue with them, and it was this whole headache. And the film festival route, we entered it, we did what we could, and it's a mock. So it's called Dan Jones' Career Is Over. And
my name's Dan Jones. Can people find it on YouTube?
Not yet. That's why I just got the flash drive. I need to put it up. So it's dated. It's got things about it that could be better, or whatever else. But I need to put it up where people.
No, that's awesome.
It's always the film you made is better than the film that somebody did.
Right. Yeah.
So you go to work 9 to 5. I'm just saying. You have a real job.
Real job now.
So
finally.
what do you still do for fun? Like when you want to escape from helping people with their problems, how do you escape?
So if I'm not gonna be writing, because that is still sitting down. I don't always want to just sit down and stare at the screen. I almost got a typewriter, actually, speaking of off the grid, and then I was like, but it'll be too loud at night. That's the only reason I didn't get it. So
somebody else,
a typewriter,
a friend of mine's wife is the same way. She works for a big newspaper here, and she wants a typewriter.
Yeah.
I think that they're starting to come back, and people are realizing how cool they really are.
Yeah, because
there's something to be said about that.
It's got a cool sound.
Noise.
But we're not sure if his living room's full of stuff for his hobbies or it's the start of a vintage store.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of a minimalist actually, so I don't have a lot of stuff. But
so a typewriter. Yeah. So you still like to write?
Yeah. So I still like, and I used to transcribe. That was one of my jobs. So I'm actually so fast I can't even. That's the only reason I can't use a typewriter. It would be too slow for me. But yeah. So I would write if I'm sitting there. If I'm not doing that, I'm playing with my kids. This is one of the strangest things out of all my strange stories is that I'm starting to be younger than my kids because they're 18, almost 16 and 13. And my daughter's 13, so really she's kind of like 14, 15. And I'm still like, so let's go like climb trees. Let's grab the Nerf gun. So I'm still like, I don't know. And I'm like, what do you mean? So I'm the one being like the little kid left
the cool
behind.
dad.
And I'm like, I just want to do that stuff. So when you're asking what I do, yeah, I'm wanting to ride bikes. I'm wanting to get into what they're doing.
Yeah.
I got to start backing off. And I have with the older ones, but I got to back off with the friends hanging out because now I'm going to be the creepy dad. I'm not the cool dad if I'm.
Are you a morning guy?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you one?
I'm
of those
a morning guy and I'm a night owl.
Okay. So what about your diet? Like, do you eat like all right and everything like that?
Yeah. I'm not a health nut, but I eat really healthy just because that's how I want to be. I've never smoked, drank anything. Has nothing to do with religion. It's just when I was young and I learned what.
So you don't have a phone.
Do.
You still have an AOL account. You don't drink.
No.
It reminds me of that song, Don't Drink, Don't Smoke.
Right.
What do you do? Don't drink, don't smoke. What do you do?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I don't smoke either, but
That's
I mean,
right.
I definitely like to get creative. I mean, a couple Budweisers.
Yeah, my voice is maybe.
Wine.
Speaking of creativity, if we went back all the way to your early years when you said you were going to therapy and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think your creativity, is there a fine line between like mania and creativity?
I'm way manic.
Yeah.
I'm definitely manic.
I'm sensing that a little, but I just
I'm actually toning it down to make sure I'm not talking too
but you
fast.
channeled it well. That's very.
That's
why I'm asking.
For the person that don't know, explain what that is.
Yeah.
Because there might be somebody that doesn't
In all
understand.
seriousness,
what you
I
said.
think he's channeled it extremely well, and
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of millennials that haven't learned to channel.
Yeah,
and I
absolutely.
think
Yeah.
he's got a great message for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's tough with so there's a lot of answers in everything we just said. But
Yeah.
when it comes to millennials and ADHD or ADD, which is attention deficit disorder, even that, a lot of people misunderstand that. It's not because they can't pay attention, it's because they're paying attention to everything. Right. That's really what that is. And when it comes to being manic, so bipolar, another phrase that's thrown around too often nowadays, but bipolar used to be manic depressive. They're the exact same thing. And manic depressive is a little easier to understand because you can hear it. It's like it's being manic, being kind of fast and hyper and being involved a lot. And then depressive where you're kind of in a state where you almost don't want to get out of bed. The misconception, though, with bipolarism is also that it's not up and down. People say they're so bipolar. They think it's an up and down thing. And that is not even what it means. I mean, it really could be that you have like 4 times that you were depressed, but you were manic all year long in that year. So, yeah, so there's a lot that comes to that. But when it comes to the kids and they're on their phones and maybe they do have a lot of manic tendencies, which just means energy. And I don't even like using any of that. I say it for myself, but
Sure.
they have a lot of energy and they got a lot of creativity. If they're on their phone, how much is that maybe not being expressed? Maybe they're, saying certain things to somebody, like they're wanting to marry somebody after 2 dates and a text message.
Yeah.
Because they just didn't know how to process some other stuff going on. That can be different when it's on a phone, when they're sitting in their homes. My kids are fortunate enough to really, they see me, but I'm also like, get out of the house, go do something, go ride your bikes, go. So they are able to do that and feel that. With these kids nowadays, there's almost no point in saying it, but it is if you can turn off the phone a little bit, not have the phone.
Pick up the phone once in a while.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you tried
Pick
to
up the
keep,
actual phone.
No, right. An actual phone. Yeah.
Have you tried to keep your kids off the grid as much as possible? Or?
Well, I didn't want to. So they're going to have my values because they're my values and they're being.
Yeah, I like that.
I could do a shorter one.
Let's do it. Because I want because I'm glad it's shorter because we only got like 5 or 6 minutes.
Okay, cool.
And I want to make sure I talk about something else that you like to do. So go ahead.
Okay. So this one's called 6 minutes before dropping off. Midnight passed and I have to get to bed, but I wonder if I'll be able to sleep and don't want to begin the restlessness in the dark bedroom. And so I'm writing this to see how fast I can write something worthy of reading and to see if it will distract and help me sleep. And I'm thinking how strange that will seem to me tomorrow morning when I am tired and not wanting to get out of bed or perform my daily duties, all the while knowing that I could have gotten to bed earlier if I only had not written this story. Then I'll remember this moment, when I thought that what I was writing wasn't a story, but had to become one in order to be a proper diversion. So then, right now, I wrote these words last night. A fairy drove a dump truck through the sky and found the tip of the castle occupied. That was the story. I came up with it after midnight last night, tonight, just now. Was the end result worth the effort? Maybe, because it took 3 minutes, correction, 4 minutes, to write the entire paragraph, 5 if you count the read through. And the sentence story fulfilled my hesitancy and gave meaning to it before entering the bedroom restlessness for which I was inevitably headed, as I'm right now predicting will occur, keeping me from sleeping and writing had I not stayed out of the room to write this paragraph. The story has become me. Sleepy, awake me. The real question is, should I bury the creeping alien I shot and killed near the wall or leave him in the bed of my truck until scrap metal drop off tomorrow? That's it.
Man, that is so awesome.
So that one, obviously, the guy's just trying to think of something to write,
Yeah.
not mentioning that he's got some alien. Why is he even writing?
Right. So writing, playing with the kids, these are all things that you do outside of your real job. But another thing you like to do, and I can't wait to go and watch you do this, is you like to do stand-up. Mm-hmm. With everything you have going on, how did stand-up come into play with this whole big long story of your life for 39 years?
Well, basically, I stopped writing those short stories, right? So I did them for 4 summers, and then I took a break on it. My kids are older. They're not climbing the trees with me anymore. Got my master's, and I got my job secured as a psychotherapist. And there's a hold put on my film. So I'm like, so I've always wanted to do comedy. And we haven't talked about it, but that has been a thing. I've always wanted to do stand-up comedy. I used to watch like Roseanne Barr and some of those people before they had like their television show.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, so I was always really big into it. I was a class clown my entire life. I always made jokes, and even though I've done a lot of acting, I have done like traveling theater and things like that. I've never gone on stage and just done that. Like just go, hey, I'm gonna make you laugh right now.
Yeah.
Because it's totally different.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with anything else. And being a motivational speaker.
It's so funny because I got off stage last week from a gig and I was at a high school and this kid goes, well, you were funny. How come you don't do stand-up? And I looked at him and I was driving home. I had about an hour and a half drive home. And I thought to myself, when you have to be funny, mm-hmm. It's a whole different ball game when someone is counting on you to make them laugh. When you're a motivational speaker or a storyteller, it's different because if they laugh, that's just a bonus.
Right.
They're there to get motivated and inspired. But when you're there for that 5 or 10 minutes or 20 minutes and you have to make them laugh, that's a totally different gig. So stand up. So do you remember your first time and when was it?
So I've only done it 4 times so far, but I do.
Are you funny or is that just what people tell you?
No, yeah, I have a knack for it, but the people that haven't seen me, someone told me, they're like, I don't know how to put this, but I didn't know you were funny. So, I was like, that's pretty good. I can use that on stage.
So let me ask you this. I've asked you to tell some funny stories. I've asked you to pick up my guitar and sing a song, and you are incredible at all of it. The one thing I have a lot of friends that are comedians, and the one thing that when you tell them that you're a comedian, the one thing that really, really just angers you guys and you girls that do comedy is when someone says, oh, you're a comic. Make me laugh. So guess what the question is?
Oh, no. Pressure's on.
Make me and Bill laugh.
So here's the thing too.
Paint the picture.
Yeah, doing it 4 times too. The thing is, my first 3 I didn't bomb at all. I got laughs. I kind of do more of a storytelling type thing. Mm-hmm. And then the 4th time, I 100% improvised and I killed it.
Yeah,
I got everybody cracking up.
So Dale Carnegie once said, talk about the things you have the right to talk about, and you'll be successful.
Okay,
and that's true. Talk about the things you have the right to talk about.
Right.
And I always said that if I was to ever do stand-up, the 2 things that I'm going to have fun with is race fans and I'm going to have fun with motivational speakers.
Right.
So go ahead, man. Do a couple minutes for us.
Punchlines. Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing I know is, we debate a lot about ghosts, whether they exist or not. And we've got paranormal activity. We got people videotaping everything out there. And it's interesting because if the ghosts do exist, do you know how offended they are by us not only ignoring them all day long and they're just walking around us, but we're questioning their existence at all, if they're even around. So that's one bit. Another one I got is,
you know what? It's kind of crazy, but I've never even looked at it like that before.
Right.
Like, think about it.
Right.
Like, if they could actually think, man, they don't even see me.
Right. And it does go on. That bit goes...
That makes you actually go,
Right. And that bit does go on a little bit longer. The guy shows up with, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd shirt that has him crossed
the
off
Ghostbusters,
opposite instead of Ghostbusters. He's got the actors crossed off.
Yeah.
And they're picketing. Ghosts are real. So they're really mad. And then when they get mad, they throw on their picket signs and it just goes up in a poof of smoke with no sound. And so there's different bits that go to it. Another quick one I have is about the trunk cords in the back of you ever notice the trunk cords in the back of a trunk, and that's something you don't want to say on a first date. But if you notice, if you look at it, it's got a person fleeing from the trunk. So the little picture has a person running away. They're not just walking away from the trunk. They're saying, run. So it's with the intention that you're going to be put in a trunk. And the most interesting thing about it is that there's an arrow. So just in case you get confused that you're running away from the car, don't jump back in the trunk and close it because you are being kidnapped. You need to get out and run that way. So that's one of them. And then another piece to that too is the buttons are so hard to find on the outside of the trunks nowadays, but they're easy on the inside, but it's in the dark. So that doesn't help us. And the other thing about being outside is, how maybe they're not on the outside because if people are walking around and, they don't want anybody just coming around popping trunks because then they could kidnap your kidnap. If they're looking for people, they're going to take yours and claim it and say, "Oh, that's mine. That's my purse. I'm going to steal one of yours from my trunks." Maybe that's why they can't see the buttons. So those are two quick bits, I guess.
Man, I tell you what, it's literally been an hour, and we have to close this out. But
it does fly by.
It does. It does. I mean, life does fly by. But Bill, do you have any last comments, or maybe we'll wrap it up with a question that you might be thinking about, or?
I don't want to take it back and get too deep, but I just really wanted to ask, based on your professional now, is there any message between your creative self and your psychotherapist self? Is there any message you'd like to leave with the audience right now?
See, one really is, and it's hard coming from me because I'm off the grid, but one really is that phone aspect. We kind of talked about it a little bit, really shutting it off. With a lot of clients I have, their anxiety is so huge, whether they're 14 or they're 58. One of the tips we even say is, don't put the phone on the dresser next to your bed. Actually just put it in the other room. If you need the alarm, set it a little louder, but have it in a room where you can see it or you can hear it. Because really just a way of going to bed and anxiety and processing. And, our body needs to do that when we go to sleep. We close our eyes and everything starts going so fast, whatever we experienced. So that's one thing about the phone. If we could ease up on a little bit, it's hard coming from me, especially if I'm talking to kids. I almost don't even say it because they're gonna be like, "Well, you don't even have a phone." I try not to say that I don't have a phone. But that is a piece of it, and it's not bias. It is more that I see it. It's the parent we can't get in the room. So let's just say a family has two parents, and there's more parents because we have step parents and things. But just say they have two parents. I always say it's the third parent we can't get in the room is the phone because we can't ask it. We can't say what's going on. Right. And so that's just all introverted with that, especially child, which is a bummer. Besides that, like I said to you, John, I think whether you're on the grid, off the grid, everyone likes to say pull up by your bootstraps and just try again. It's not so much about try again. It's try differently.
Yeah.
It is so important. It's because you're just going to set yourself up for failure. Things aren't going to go in the right way. It's changing it up. It doesn't mean you have to do what I do. You don't have to do stand up and then write short stories at night and climb trees. I mean, I don't expect anybody to do that stuff. But it is, if you're getting an argument every time, if it's at dinner, maybe say to the person, "Hey, let's have an argument, but let's just do it at this time." I mean, actually say it. We're probably going to fight
or go
today.
for a walk.
Right.
Or I'm going to go for a while, or just dismiss yourself. I mean,
Right.
a lot of people don't do that no more.
Right. There is. Yeah. And taking that self-care is huge.
Walking through the woods and stuff anymore. Is like people don't do that. Remember, like back in the day when we were younger guys, and we used to go down and play by the creek.
Oh yeah.
That's it. No toys needed.
Yeah,
Right,
none
exactly.
of that. And we had fun, and we used our imagination and stuff. And now the imagination is put on a gaming device, and it's about shooting people and stealing cars and about things that I think are wrong. But I mean, I'm not
Right.
going to get political there or anything else. But you know what I mean? I'm like, come on, man.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing. When I have,
I'm trying not to go down that rabbit hole, but you know what I mean?
And if I do have a client, if I have a patient that's 17 years old, and I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, they smoke weed, they go on the phone, they text, and they play video games. It really is hard to say, well, how can we do this differently?
Yeah.
I had multiple kids say to me, well, I mean, I could play a different game. And then they'll come to me weeks later and they'll go, guess what? I did something different. I'm like, good. And they're like, I played, Fortnite instead of GTA. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
I'm like, you're getting there.
I get
changed it
baby
up.
steps, right?
Right. So
When I was a
that's
kid, we had
awesome.
outside.
Yeah, right. Yeah, people don't do that anymore.
play the video game outside, maybe.
Exactly.
Do you have time for maybe a half a song or a song? Did you bring another song with you, or
Yeah,
one
I
that
could
you
do
can? I want to end this podcast with a song from you. That I was so intrigued and so inspired by that last one that I would love to end the podcast.
Would you like it to be more of like a rockin' one, or
You can do whatever you want. This is all about you and leaving your legacy and your fans. Just real quick, can anybody even find you online, or are you kind of like a ghost that no one's ever gonna see?
So I'm trying to figure this out right now. That's why I'm even here.
I'm going to give one forewarning tip. So when you do find out like what emojis are, the one that looks like ice cream, it's not really chocolate ice cream.
That one I do know.
Good job, Bill. I didn't know you were a comic.
Thank you. I'll be here for 2 minutes.
Yeah, there is a movie too that mentions emojis. They say things about like eggplant next to other stuff, and there's actually all kind of innuendos that I wouldn't have known except I saw it in a movie, and I'm like, oh. So thank you for that bit.
Grab my guitar, man, and it should be in tune. I just played it before you guys got here.
Yeah. I was just trying to buy him some time while he was picking up the guitar.
So do you want to set the song up? Because we're going to end it with this. And after the song, just kind of look at me. And I want you to continue playing while I wrap up this whole thing.
Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
All right.
So this song's called We Need Children. I wrote this before I became a psychotherapist. And I don't love saying the phrase awareness, but it is kind of bringing up awareness of suicide and his parents being involved.
Yeah.
A lot of schools are worried about even having suicide prevention talks. And the research just shows people are not going to act because you brought up the word. If anything, it's just going to start the conversation. So it's super important. So it might be a little dark, but it has meaning.
A great meaning. Yeah,
it doesn't
absolutely.
Get too dark.
Cool. I appreciate it. And thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thank you. My son actually said, "Are you going to play that one?" I'm like, "It's fine." Okay. Killing themselves. Killing themselves. You heard that song today about suicide, but you didn't listen, did you? You thought your child wasn't truly that bad. The truth grants time to grieve. Did you know that your boy was crying himself to sleep, but you turned up the TV and you laughed over the sound as he drops to the ground? Hear that? Hope not. Upstairs, a gunshot. Officer, I kept it locked. Don't wanna hear about it. We need children. Princess, now dead. Pink room, dark and red. Oh, but was she pretty? Oh. You thought your child was groomed, loving her room. The insults were cutting like diamonds. Did wanna hear about it. We need children, but I beg you not to talk about it. But we needed your children.
Outstanding. So listen, the one thing that I have written down here, and I was like, holy cow, I forgot how we even met, and that is Stories Upstairs. And I didn't know, 18 years of doing this, 19 years of doing this, I didn't know that there was a place that storytellers could go and actually hang out with one another. A mutual friend of ours invited me, and Jeremy invited, what's his last name? I don't even know.
It's Hanson, and it's at River's Edge Gallery in
Which is a
Wyandotte.
super sweet gallery.
Yep, and he has it upstairs called Stories Upstairs. It's the fourth Thursday of every month.
Yeah, and every month they actually have a different theme.
Yep.
So
Don't
it was.
remember what it is this Thursday.
I don't know either, but I'll definitely be there this time. I popped in there last time, and I was so intrigued with how many. I mean, there must have been 30 or 40 artists, and I didn't realize that there was that many storytellers even downriver here.
Yeah,
And
it's
it was
fun. You just put a
awesome.
name in the box and then you go up. But yeah, since you're plugging your stuff, I just thought, it was important.
We
It's
had
what
to,
we
and it
met
was in here, and time just flew by.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you got to go check out the art gallery. Is absolutely amazing. And then Stories Upstairs, and it literally is upstairs in the gallery.
Yeah.
But you have to bring your own booze. It's bring your own.
And bring your own booze. Yep. You do have to.
So if you need a little bit of encouragement, you got to bring it yourself.
Yep.
Dan Jones, thank you so much for coming on the Outstanding
very
Life
much.
podcast. Bill, thanks for hanging out this afternoon here on this beautiful day here in Michigan. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for listening to the Outstanding Life podcast. I'm Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy. And don't forget, you can listen to all of our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Player FM. And don't forget, if you want to donate to the Outstanding Life podcast, you can go to motivationalcowboy.com. Go to the podcast page. I have a PayPal account there that you can show your support, and you can also support on Patreon. Again, this is Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, telling all of you, be safe, have fun, and have yourselves an outstanding day.